Donald Trump sharply rejected the idea of seizing Greenland and stated that the United States would not use military force to take over the island. So Europeans can breathe a sigh of relief and relax. But such a statement didn't come out of nowhere. First, there were leaks from the White House that not all of Donald Trump's advisors supported the idea of seizing Greenland, since the overwhelming majority of Americans opposed such an idea, because such a move would have completely destroyed the structures of NATO. And so, Donald Trump stated in Davos that he would not use force against Greenland, and that supposedly there is already some kind of agreement, so he won't even impose tariffs. But it turned out that even his own Republican Party rose up against Trump. As the Financial Times writes, voices within the Republican Party have been growing louder against Donald Trump's aggressive campaign aimed at seizing Greenland. In Congress, they even stated that if Trump doesn't calm down, it will be Donald Trump's own Republican Party that could rein in the president's territorial ambitions. This is an interesting development we should discuss. My name is Alexei Pichi. Let's discuss this topic together. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to the channel, give a like, and leave any comment under this episode. This really helps a lot with promoting the content on YouTube, and I would be grateful to you for that. In addition, subscribe to my Telegram channel, Peachy News. The link is in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as it comes in. Donald Trump reportedly got carried away with threats to militarily seize Greenland. Yes. So much so that the Republican Party and even his close advisors started trying to bring the American president back to his senses. As a result, Trump backed off a little. I'll start with the latest news and then we'll break everything down. First, I'll give you this long quote from Donald Trump without any extra commentary. So Trump, speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, said, quote, "I respect the people of Denmark and Greenland. But each NATO ally must defend its own land, and only the United States can protect Greenland. When during World War II Denmark fell to Germany in just 6 hours, it couldn't defend itself or Greenland. And then the United States of America had to send troops to hold Greenland. And we did it, Denmark knows it, and after the war we gave Greenland back to Denmark. How foolish that was. But Denmark is ungrateful now. When we gave Greenland back, it wasn't as important as it is now. It's a huge, unprotected island. In fact, it's part of North America. It's the northern border of the Western Hemisphere. It's our territory. In 2019, Denmark said it would spend $200 million to strengthen Greenland's defense. They spent less than 1% of that amount. I say this respectfully toward Denmark and its people. These are the reasons why I want to hold immediate negotiations to discuss the acquisition of Greenland, just as we have acquired many other territories, just like many Europeans have done. There's nothing unusual about this. It's not a threat to NATO. It will strengthen the security of the entire alliance. NATO is being very unfair to the United States of America. We give so much and get so little in return. Vladimir Putin once told me, "I can't believe you settled Armenia and Azerbaijan. I couldn't resolve it for 10 years. I replied to him, "Listen, do me a favor, settle your own war and don't worry about that one." What does the United States get from all this work, from all this money, besides deaths, destruction, and a huge amount of money going to people? They don't appreciate what we're doing. They don't appreciate what we're doing. I'm talking about NATO, about Europe. They should be working on Ukraine. No, we're very far away. There's a big, beautiful ocean between us. It actually doesn't concern us at all. I shouldn't, don't want to, and won't use force against Greenland. We protected Europe from the Soviet Union and Russia, and what did we get in return? All I'm asking for is Greenland, including the title and ownership. Because you have to own in order to protect. You can't protect by renting because it's impossible. First, legally, and second, psychologically. Who the hell would want to protect something under a license or lease agreement? It's a big chunk of ice in the middle of the ocean. If a war starts, a lot of fighting will take place on that chunk of ice, and missiles will fly right through its center. That's a very small request compared to what we've been doing to them for decades. We want land in return for protecting the world. They have a choice, I mean the Europeans. They can say yes and we'll be very grateful, or they can say no and we'll remember that. We want to build the greatest golden dome on this land. I mean a missile defense system, which so far exists only on paper. It will protect Canada, and by the way, Canadians should also be grateful, but they are ungrateful. Let me remind you, Canada exists thanks to the United States of America. Remember this, Mark Carney, Prime Minister, remember this before making your next statement. Bibi Netanyahu, the Iron Dome, let me remind you, that's our staff. Remember, this is such aggressive rhetoric. But still, Trump's fervor has been cooled down a bit. At least he's no longer planning to seize Greenland with the army. But here's the question, what influenced Trump's rhetoric? And this is where it gets really interesting. And that's what still gives hope that there is some influence on Donald Trump in the United States. Although today he called himself a dictator, Trump says, yes, I am a dictator, but sometimes you need a dictator to restore order with a firm hand. This reminds you of someone. As the Financial Times reports, more Republicans are opposing Donald Trump's aggressive campaign to seize Greenland. It is noted that Congress may try to curb the territorial ambitions of the United States president. Lawmakers who do not plan to run for re-election in November are especially active. In other words, they basically don't care anymore. And one of them is a member of the House of Representatives. Don Bacon from Nebraska called the president's approach to Greenland complete nonsense. Here is his quote. An invasion of the island would put an end to his presidency because it would be a crime worthy of impeachment. Most Republicans in Congress, although they remain silent, are ready to try to block military action. Most Republicans know that this is immoral and wrong, and we will oppose it. At the same time, Senator Tom Tilley, also a Republican who does not intend to run for re-election, said that he is trying to achieve de-escalation around Greenland. He urged Donald Trump not to unsettle the markets with his outbursts. Several Republicans who are keeping their seats in Congress said that they expect a resolution on military powers to be adopted in the coming week, which will prevent the United States president from deploying troops to any NATO country, including Greenland, without congressional approval. Let me remind you, Republican Senator Liza Murkowski of Alaska and Democratic Senator Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire introduced the resolution last week. A similar bill was also introduced by congressmen from both parties in the House of Representatives, so it already exists in both chambers. And, as Republican Senator Rand Paul stated, quote, even the most active hawks in our caucus have said they will not support this. As a result, CNN writes that not all of Donald Trump's advisors support military action regarding Greenland. Some are concerned about this and believe that the president has gone too far in his refusal to accept anything other than full control over the island. Quote, despite the fact that Donald Trump is ramping up his aggressive rhetoric and does not rule out the annexation of Greenland by military means, some officials are wary of such a move. One of Trump's advisors stated directly that they have no intention of making Greenland a separate state. We don't want to make it a state, but do we want to form an alliance with it? Without a doubt, said the advisor, among many of Trump's advisors. The preferred option is to introduce tariffs as a bargaining tool to extract more concessions from the Europeans. Then wrap things up like in Art of the Deal, focusing on deal-making. And the idea is that Trump should ultimately just gain more control over the island, shared with Europe, control over security, and increased European involvement in protecting Greenland from Russian and Chinese encroachment. Plus, Trump is counting on Denmark to expand the agreement on the deployment of United States troops on the island, so for now, the war for Greenland is definitely postponed. Moreover, by the end of the day, Trump stated that supposedly, well, let me quote, we have laid the groundwork for a future agreement on Greenland. Based on this understanding, I will not impose tariffs against European Union countries that were supposed to take effect on February 1st. So I take it that what really influenced Donald Trump was that the Republicans didn't support his idea of taking over Greenland and put him in his place a little bit? And what do you think influenced Trump? Write about it in the comments. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments under this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like if you want to support the work of this YouTube channel. You can do this with any donation or a paid subscription using the links and details in the description of this video, as well as the QR code on your screens. I will be grateful for any support from you. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.